thousands of people are gathering in Southampton tonight after body cam footage was released of Henry Novak's final moments.
Just look at the leaked body cam, where two-tier police practically became involved in murder.
Right, my brother, he's took my turban off.
This is Vikram Digwa, 23, the real murderer who right now is lying to the police that he became a victim of a racist attack.
So I grabbing my head.
Are you injured?
Yeah, I've got swollen eye, little bruise.
Alright, just step back a little bit for me.
I'm running around the corner.
What's happened to you, alright?
This is Henry Novak, 18, not a racist, but an actual victim with 5 bleeding wounds.
Been stabbed. You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? Don't think you have, mate.
I don't think you have, mate. The officer mistook Henry for the murderer and let him die in 180 seconds.
Hand.
I can't breathe.
Put the hand in the cuff, mate.
Thus, 18-year-old local was killed practically by the hands of the police, who were scared to death of a racism accusation. This became the beginning of the end. 5:10 p.m. Hundreds of protesters publicly accused Starmer of personal complicity in the murder and a two-tier policy. Immediately after, several riot control units arrived at the scene. In just 43 seconds, the first victim was a protester surrounded by 6 officers. Online commentators stated, "Far-right rioters are staging mass provocations on the street." And already at 5:35, the most brutal attack began. Over a dozen injured on site. Suddenly, Nigel Farage stated, "Two-tier police care about everyone but native Britons." Within minutes, officers began to retreat and deployed a shield wall. 6:11 p.m. The first smoke screens appeared. 5 miles away, locals launched a merciless attack on the shields using glass and stones. On the ground, up to 14 arrests were made in minutes. Finally, Starmer stated, "We condemn those who fuel hatred and division in Britain during a difficult time. This only made the situation 4 times worse." From Southampton to London, thousands came out to mass marches with British flags. 6:36 p.m. Protesters chanting, "We want our country back," occupied 3 streets at once. Right there, about 230 officers were spotted to suppress the riots. Over 15 vans blocked the roads. Authorities stated, provocateurs and attackers face a minimum of 2 years in prison, and in just 40 seconds, clashes with the police began. In 3 areas at once, ambulance workload increased by 310%. At a parliamentary session, the issue of the so-called far-right criminals on the street was urgently raised. Authorities insisted on introducing harsher punishments. But 2 hours later, the situation reached a breaking point. Football fans and police started a crush. 8:32. Police horses were spotted on the streets. Entire police units formed cordons in zones 14 and 19. Then it all started. Unidentified individuals attacked the 2-car police patrol with fireworks. 40 miles away, riots involving fireworks were spotted on the streets. The flag marches disappeared. Absolute chaos began. Police vans surrounded entire sectors. Suddenly, the next series of fireworks followed. Over the radio, you could hear, "Retreat from zones 8 and 11. The thugs have explosives." On Twitter, 2 sides emerged. Some called them anarchists, others freedom fighters. Over the past few weeks, Keir Starmer has found himself in the worst political position of his entire career. Recent polling data reveals that more than 75% of the British public is now firmly against him. The population accuses the Prime Minister of breaking exactly 13 major election promises. The most severe criticism stems from his decision to open the borders to tens of thousands of illegal migrants from Africa. This demographic shift coincides with the implementation of a highly controversial 2-tier policing policy. Nigel Farage is speaking out directly about this exact issue. He states that law enforcement is receiving top-down orders to do everything possible to avoid racism scandals. Prominent critics assert that Starmer is personally to blame for the consequences of this approach. They point to cases where native Britons have died in machete attacks as a direct result of these policing priorities. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister categorically denies the existence of a 2-tier policing system. He prefers to shift focus entirely onto the sudden rise of right-wing sentiments and street protests. However, newly surfaced data directly contradicts his official narrative. The political opposition claims to possess leaked internal communications from multiple police departments across England and Scotland. These documents are reportedly supported by direct testimonies from frontline officers. According to these Farage's data, police are explicitly forbidden from disclosing the nationality of violent criminals. They are also restricted from revealing the religious backgrounds of perpetrators. The justification given for these orders is to avoid provoking community conflicts. This suppression of information extends to the broader crime statistics across the country. An estimated 1.2 million illegal migrants currently reside within Britain. Authorities are reportedly prohibited from linking this massive demographic to the historic surge in national crime rates. The streets have seen a staggering 300% increase in machete attacks compared to the year 2000. Officials face heavy restrictions when trying to connect this violent trend to the daily arrival of small boats. The exact same gag orders apply to the epidemic of grooming gangs. Mathematical numbers indicate that a sexual attack occurs somewhere in Britain every 3 minutes. Despite this alarming frequency, the public is kept in the dark about the perpetrators. Based on testimonies highlighted by Nigel Farage, officials cannot reveal specific demographies involved in grooming gangs. This creates a system where political correctness actively supersedes public safety. Citizens watch as violent crimes escalate while the government mandates silence on the underlying causes. The failure to address the connection between border control and street safety is destroying public trust. Internal police memos show a deliberate strategy to sanitize information regarding violent incidents. The true scale of the crisis could be 3 to 4 times bigger. People elected a government promising stability but received unprecedented domestic unrest. The daily influx of undocumented individuals continues to drain local council budgets. While communities demand transparency, the state enforces rigid censorship on crime data. State media treats the 300% surge in machete violence as an unexplained phenomenon. Anyone attempting to point out the small boat connection faces immediate political backlash and labelled as racist. According to Farage, Prime Minister Starmer uses the threat of the far-right label to silence legitimate criticism of his administration. The opposition demands a full parliamentary inquiry into these leaked police directives. They want the restrictions lifted so the public can finally see accurate crime demographics. Protesters with British flags admit that just 20 years ago, their cities looked completely different. Local residents state that London has become an absolutely unrecognisable place. Citizens in Manchester report this same exact experience. Birmingham locals also describe their neighbourhoods as completely unrecognisable today. The opposition has raised a separate national scandal surrounding 3-star hotels. Reports indicate that approximately £8 million are spent daily. This daily money maintains the individuals arriving every single day. Locals living in these specific areas now genuinely fear speaking out against this. Nigel Farage warns about the consequences of saying something too radical. He notes that individuals can be fired from their jobs. Furthermore, citizens can be sent to prison for up to 3 years. The situation on the internet is reported to be even worse. The new Online Safety Act is designated for monitoring social networks. This monitoring specifically includes platforms like Twitter and Facebook. Keir Starmer guarantees that these new online restrictions have a specific purpose. He claims they are created strictly for the safety of Britons on the internet. Nigel Farage states that these statements are merely excuses. He argues the true goal is introducing total censorship. Opposition data provides specific numbers regarding this issue. Up to 12,000 arrests are made annually due to online speech. Among these are individuals who accuse specific demographics. They link these demographics to machete attacks. These attacks occur on the streets of East London. Writing about this falls under the racism article. British residents over the age of 50 are also impacted. These citizens remember the country being absolutely different. They write about religious changes on their personal pages. These actions threaten them with the article on inciting hatred. Reports indicate high public engagement regarding this entire situation. More than 200,000 people have signed a petition. This petition explicitly demands a general election. The signatures encompass all the previously stated reasons. In the comments sections, there are separate groups of Britons. They evaluate the current political environment. They see only one single exit path. This path involves urgent intervention by the Crown. The ultimate demand is the immediate resignation of Starmer. The contrast between past and present cities drives the protests. Waving British flags has become a common sight at these demonstrations. The daily hotel expenditure remains a central point of the opposition's argument. The £8 million figure is frequently cited in debates. Fear of losing employment dictates how locals act. Fear of a 3-year prison sentence silences public discussion. Social media monitoring is now backed by official law. Twitter and Facebook are the primary targets of the Online Safety Act. Starmer's guarantees regarding internet safety face significant skepticism. Farage continues to push the total censorship narrative. The statistic of 12,000 annual online speech arrests is heavily circulated. East London machete attacks are a highly sensitive online topic. Mentioning specific demographics in relation to these attacks triggers legal action. The 50-plus demographic frequently reflects on national changes. Their online observations about religion are closely monitored. Inciting hatred is the standard charge for these personal posts. The 200,000 petition signatures show growing dissatisfaction. Calls for a general election are increasing across digital platforms. Commentators frequently discuss the role of the monarchy. Urgent Crown intervention is viewed as a necessary step. Demanding Starmer's resignation is the final goal of these groups. The entire situation centres on the restriction of public discourse. The government and the opposition remain completely divided on these issues. Observing law enforcement paralyse themselves over political correctness reveals a system that no longer protects its citizens. Authority vanishes the exact moment officers prioritise avoiding a racism complaint over treating a bleeding teenager on the pavement. Currently, the national justice apparatus operates under a permanent state of bureaucratic anxiety. Downing Street initially promised absolute equality before the law. Reality demonstrates a terrifyingly different standard where survival depends entirely on demographic optics. Decisions regarding public safety are currently dictated by a desperate desire to avoid social media backlash rather than a fundamental duty to save lives. Nobody within the administration asks how to prevent another young student from dying in handcuffs. Consequently, a 21-centimeter ceremonial blade remains perfectly legal to carry in public spaces. Meanwhile, native residents face harsh prosecution for merely possessing a personal alarm for self-defense. Supervisors actively instruct frontline teams to step back and question victims instead of restraining aggressive suspects. Officials label this approach as culturally sensitive policing. Ordinary taxpayers recognize it as institutionalized cowardice. Panic has systematically replaced protocol. Over 20 millions watching the leaked body cam footage witnessed an undeniable double standard. State authorities will drag an innocent, injured citizen across gravel and read him his rights as he suffocates. Conversely, the actual perpetrator receives zero physical restraints and is allegedly allowed to select his own meal at the station. Legal frameworks immediately punish online dissenters while violently granting leniency to those exploiting religious weapon exemptions.